everyone, I'm Jessie and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the most underhyped books, the most underrated books I think are out there right now that are at least on my shelf. And if you like this video, make sure to like it, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel below so that you can make sure to never miss any of my videos because I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. The book I have on my shelf that I think is underrated is We Are Water by Wally Lamb. This is an adult contemporary. It's a family drama. It follows this family that's broken apart and trying to piece itself back together again. It's very, very adult in content, so proceed with caution, but it is a stunning novel, and the characters are so real, the emotions you feel are so real, and just what these characters go through is unbelievable, and how they make it out of it. I love this book. It's one of the first books I read as an adult that really got me back into reading. A friend had actually bought this for me, and that's kind of what triggered my love of reading again. So if you ever find yourself in a slump and you're looking for an adult contemporary book to get you out of it, I highly recommend We Are Water. The second book I have that's underrated, in my humble opinion, is How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. So this one I just don't see enough people talking about. It is the cutest book. It is about a girl who is in a plane accident and she becomes paralyzed. And it's not a spoiler, it happens in like the first chapter and is also a part of the synopsis. So no spoilers here. But this book is just about her recovery process and her kind of finding herself through that. It is so good. It made me cry, it made me laugh. The characters are wonderful. It's very real and fast-paced, and I just loved it. I highly recommend it. Great. The next underrated book I have for you is The next underrated book I have for you is And I Darken by Kiersten White. So I have seen quite a few people talk about this one, but just not enough. So in my opinion, it's still underrated for what it is. It follows this woman who's Vlad Dracul, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Vlad Dracul's daughter. So it's kind of a twist on Russian history. So it's got some real figures in it from Russian history, but it's completely fictionalized. So this is not based on real events. So it's still a fantasy story, but it's just about this character who's kind of growing up in this empire, and she's such a badass and just wants to be in power, but you know, in this world, women are suppressed and they can't be in power, and it's just about her defying all the odds, and I loved it. I think that Lada, the main character, is so badass. I mean, look at this cover. How cool is she? So if you need like a girl power fantasy story with an awesome heroine in it, check this one out. Alright, so the next underrated book I have is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. There's the title. It's a little bit of a weird cover here. It's got one of the quotes on it. So this one is a young adult contemporary. I actually talked about it in my best beach reads video as well, because I think it is very light and fast-paced and fun. The characters are incredible. The writing is very whimsical and unique. It's about these twins. It's a coming-of-age story. It's about them kind of being driven apart but coming back together, working through their differences, and follows dual perspective of both of them as they're kind of navigating school and life. And I loved it. I'm not usually a fan of young adult contemporary, just because I'm past that phase of my life and like reading now more adult contemporary, but this one still got to me. It is so enjoyable for any age, so I highly recommend this one. Even if you are past that high school phase of your life, you'll still really enjoy the characters in this one. Alright, second to last underrated book, in my opinion, is A Thousand Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. This one is a sci-fi novel where it's set sort of in the future, and it follows this girl whose parents have come up with a way of traveling between alternate realities or alternate universes. So the premise behind it is that every choice you make in life splits into different universes. So you make a choice today about, what you want to be in the future, and there's a universe out there where you've made the opposite choice of what you make in this universe. So her parents have found a way to travel between those universes, and it's about a boy. It's about the girl, but it's also about a boy who steals this mechanism of travel, and the girl has to go and get it back, and along the way find her parents, who the boy has taken. So this one is really cool. I read it not knowing anything about it. I just thought the cover was stunning. So I picked it up, and I didn't really see anyone talking about it. So when I read it and loved it, I couldn't believe that it wasn't more popular. I think it is really unique. It's a great starter to sci-fi if you don't read a lot of sci-fi, because it's not too heavy in the science part of sci-fi. It's still very much an adventure story, and it brings up some philosophical questions about kind of our choices and how they lead us down these different paths, and what happens, if a different choice is made by one person, 500 years ago, how does that affect today? So it's really cool to explore the different universes and kind of see how our choices impact everything around us. Highly recommend. So check this one out if you haven't already. Last book I have is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. So everyone knows, or at least almost everyone, knows Kristen Hanna from The Nightingale, which is an incredible World War II historical fiction, probably my favorite book of all time, but no one talks about her new novel that debuted last year called The Great Alone. And this one is still historical fiction. I believe it's set in the 70s, maybe the 60s, 60s or 70s, and it's about a family who moves to Alaska because the father was a prisoner of war and has some severe PTSD, and so they move to Alaska from their old home for a new start, a fresh life and home and community that they can be a part of, and think that that's gonna make it all better. Needless to say, things ensue, and it is such an incredible book. It's very heart-wrenching. It's definitely not a feel-good, smiley book. There's some really, really heavy content in here. So if you're not a reader that likes reading very heavy family dramas, this may not be for you, but if you're up for it, I think that this is an incredible book. It's one that you think about for days and days after you've read it, even weeks and weeks after you've read it, like I did. And it's just, the characters are unbelievable. I cried a lot, so I highly recommend The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. And that's all I've got for you. Those are my most underrated books that I have on my shelf right now. I'd love to know what some of your most underrated books are, so make sure to comment them below and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.